Interval notation is a way of expressing all of the possible values of a variable when you look at an inequality. Some of this notation won't make sense until we do some examples. So let me read this first and we'll go back and express the solution set using interval notation for each of the inequalities we've looked at so far. I'm going to grab a different color. So use brackets and parentheses, and you indicate values are included with brackets and not included with parentheses. This will be better understood with some examples, but basically you're just writing down all of the possible, from the least possible value of the variable all the way up to the greatest possible value. So I'm going to move back to this inequality that we started with. Was going to, except I erased it. Let me put it back. P is greater than or equal to -2. We had a solid dot at -2 to indicate that -2 is included, and an arrow going to the right to indicate that any value greater than -2 is included. So if you want to write the interval notation, you consider the smallest possible value of P. Well, the leftmost value that P could be would be -2. And then it can go all the way up to, since the arrow goes to the right, it goes all the way up to positive infinity. So you write the range. This is essentially the range of all possible values of P. Then you have to decide whether to put brackets or parentheses on each of these values. -2 is included. In other words, P could be exactly -2. And so brackets indicate that the value is included in the same way that a solid dot indicates that the value is included. While infinity is part of the solution set, because we never know what infinity really is, it's just a concept, that always gets parentheses. That's one tricky little confusing thing about this notation. It'll become more clear as we do some other examples. Like if we look back at this inequality, z is less than 3, because the arrow is going to the left, we know the least possible value of z is -infinity. And it goes all the way up to 3, but doesn't include the 3, and that's when we use parentheses. Parentheses indicate that the value is not included. Brackets indicate that the value is included. And infinity and -infinity always get parentheses. One way to remember that the parentheses are like the open circle is if you take a set of parentheses, it kind of looks like that open circle that we use to indicate the value is not included. That's one way to remember the difference between parentheses and brackets. The solution set for an inequality like m is not equal to 2 requires 2 intervals. We see that this arrow goes infinitely to the left, so m could be -infinity at the least, which always gets parentheses, all the way up to +2, but not including +2. And then it can go from +2, again not including +2, all the way up to positive infinity as the arrow goes to the right. So that solution set requires 2 intervals.